Coming up on the Suze Orman Show, the best way for you to be diversified and to make some income too. Also,
they just have so many credit cards that I feel they need to just start paying them off, but they don't know how to go about it.
We can help get them out of credit card debt, but if we don't cure the reason they got into credit card debt to begin with, the credit card debt will just come back. And you ask me, can I afford it?
Hi, Miss Susie. I want to buy a Charles Owen JR8 riding helmet. I bring in $60 a month in allowance.
Wow. Hi, everybody. I'm Suze Orman, and you are watching the Suze Orman Show. So many times on the show for the past few years, I've been saying to you, if you want to invest in the stock market, you should be looking to buy either stocks or exchange-traded funds that pay a dividend. Why do I want you to do that? That is because if you are investing in a stock or an exchange-traded fund that pays you a 5-6% dividend, then you are being paid to invest. At least you know you're getting some type of income while the stock either goes up or down or just stays the same, especially for older people who are looking for income to live off of. Dividend-paying stocks or exchange-traded funds are a wonderful way to go, especially when interest rates in money market funds are just 1%. However, many of you write in and you say, but Susie, should I do stocks or should I do exchange-traded funds? So I want to give you some guidelines right now for you to follow so you know exactly should you be in stocks, exchange-traded funds, or possibly even both. I've always said on the Suze Orman Show here that if you're investing in stocks, you should not have more than 5% of your investable assets in one company. If you do, if you put a lot of money in one company and something happens to that company, you're in trouble. So therefore, if you put 5% of your money in one company, you need 20 companies for you to have 100% of your money invested. 20 times 5 is 100. That is a lot of stocks. So if you were going to invest in individual stocks, and let's just say all you had was $10,000 to invest, and all you could do is put 5% in each company, 20 companies, that means $500 for 20 companies. How many shares can you buy? Too expensive in terms of commissions. It doesn't make sense. So what I would say to you is this, that the minimum you should probably have in a stock is $5,000. 5,000 times 20 is $100,000. So if you're going to invest in a diversified stock portfolio that pays dividends, you should be looking to invest only if you have $100,000 or more in individual stocks. If you have less than that, you have a fabulous alternative, exchange-traded funds. Exchange-traded funds are like an index. They follow an index. They're made up of a basket of different stocks of that index, and you have total diversification. So if all you had to invest was $5,000, you could feel comfortable buying one exchange-traded fund, putting all $5,000 in that exchange-traded fund. There are exchange-traded funds out there that do pay 4-5% or so. And so you could get your dividend from the exchange-traded funds. And if something goes wrong with one of the stocks in the index of that exchange-traded fund, you're not going to be obliterated. It's not going to matter. This is very important. So exchange-traded funds give you diversification. Stocks only give you diversification if you can buy at least 20 of them if you're doing it for the dividend yield. So now you know the difference and to how I would do it if I were you. Exchange-traded funds, stocks, I got to tell you, exchange-traded funds really are my favorite. Alex in New Jersey, ask me your question.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Anytime.
So growing up, I didn't realize that my parents had money issues. Now that I'm working, I'm 23, I'm making my own money, paying my student loans and saving money, I realize how bad it is for them. They have a lot of unnecessary credit card debt, and I know it's not my job to fix my parents' finances, but I feel like there's a way to help. Do you know how?
Well, let me ask you this, Alex. Why do you think they have credit card debt?
I've just noticed that, they have a lot of credit. They have many credit cards, and I noticed that, they're paying them late. And now I've asked them, and they started to be honest with me about it, letting me know that they can't pay their bills on time, and they just have so many credit cards that I feel they need to just start paying them off, but they don't know how to go about it.
Yeah, but here's my real question to you, all right, which is, mother, father, why do you find that they overspend? When you think about back to your childhood, was your mother a spender? Was your father a spender? Did they always go out to eat? What is the reason that you think they got into credit card debt to begin with? Because here's the reason that I'm saying this to you, Alex, which is until we can cure the cause, curing the result of the cause doesn't matter, because we can help get them out of credit card debt. But if we don't cure the reason they got into credit card debt to begin with, the credit card debt will just come back, because we haven't changed their habits. It's just like when you're overweight. If you're overweight, you can go on a diet, you'll lose 40 pounds. And if you haven't cured the reason why you overeat, you'll go back to it and you'll gain the 40 pounds right back again. So when you now, as a young adult, look at your parents' behavior, looking back, do you think about things that they did with money that were irresponsible? Can any of those things come up? Or, go on.
I think that it was, I think it's, just spending on, materialistic things that weren't necessary, not to live and to eat and to, put food on the table, but, clothes and different things, whether it was like redoing a room or something. I just felt like they were living outside their means on things that they didn't need.
All right, now here's the question. Now that they have credit card debt, do you find that they're still living beyond their means?
No, I think that they're trying to cut back, and I don't think that I think they have one credit card that they use now when they really need to. But I just don't think that they're handling the way to pay them off correctly.
All right. The way that you pay off credit cards correctly, that you can tell them, is that you line up all your credit cards from the highest interest rate to the lowest. You pay the minimum payment on every single card. So every single card has a minimum payment due. On the card with the highest interest rate, you find all the money you possibly could find above the minimum payment due, and you put all of that money on the highest interest rate credit card. When that credit card is paid off, you take all the money you can possibly find plus the minimum payment of that card, and you pay it on the next highest card along with the minimum payment on that card. And you keep rolling it down, so each time you're paying more and more money on the lower card until all of your cards are gone. Here's another thing that they could do, and thinking about it, I might suggest that they do try this. Sometimes all of us need help in paying down our bills and making sure that we do it. We need to be held accountable. They might want to go on a website, nfcc.org, National Foundation of Credit Counselors. It is within this nonprofit corporation that they will find a place where they can go to get credit counseling, where a credit counselor will look at all of their credit cards for them. They will decide if they can literally lower the interest rates on those credit cards, because a lot of them have deals with many of the credit card companies that are part of that organization. And you pay them, they pay the bills. And you have 5 years usually to be able to pay off all of your credit cards. So if they need a little help, I would suggest that. Either way, though, if they were to do one of those things, they're on the road to financial recovery. Let's go to Massachusetts. Marianne, you're on the Suze Orman Show.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Marianne. Ask me your question.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say how much my husband and I love you.
Oh, thank you.
And my question is we currently have 2 small children and 1 on the way, but we rent from an individual, of a condo owner. And I was wondering, with all the foreclosures that are going on, do we have rights as tenants to ask her if she's current with her mortgage?
You can ask her, but are you asking her because you're afraid that if she's not, you're going to get evicted because they're going to foreclose on her, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's a tenant's right for you to be able to ask her that specific question. But if I were you, Who cares about tenants' right? I would definitely want to know, especially if it affects my situation. Let's go to Pennsylvania. Nakia, you're on the air.
Hi, Susie. How you doing?
Fabulous, Nakia. What's your question?
Hi. First, I would like to say I love you very much, and I take all your advice into strong consideration.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'm loving this job that I have here. Anyway, ask me your question.
Sure. My husband was left his grandmother's house when she recently passed away, and her reverse mortgage payments. We both work, and we do own a home of our own with our own bills. She owed $156,000 on his reverse mortgage, but I don't think the house is worth it.
Yeah.
My husband's family feels though we should keep the house in the family, and nobody's offering any money to pay for this.
Yeah.
What should we do? Should we take the payments on and consolidate everything that we have to keep the house, or should we let the bank sell it?
You know, Nakia, here's the thing. Do you and your husband, I don't care what the family says, because this is now you're going to be your financial responsibility. Do you and your husband want to keep this home?
He wants to keep the home because of the emotional ties to the home.
Right. Listen, why in the world, I don't care about emotional ties when it comes to $156,000. You're going to have to pay the bank back the $156,000 that Mama had taken out from this house in terms of payments for you to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to get a loan on this house for $156,000 if the house is even worth $156,000. So if I were you, I would let the bank take it. Let's go to Indiana. Diane, ask me your question.
Hey. Hello, Susie. How you doing?
Good, Diane. And you?
Great. Thanks for taking my call and for being a blessing unto so many people through your show and books. And I am your #1 fan. You don't know that, but I am.
You know, I can hear it in your voice, girlfriend. I can hear it in your voice. Ask me your question, though.
All right. Over the past few years, I've been notified by several companies about a security breach regarding my personal information.
Yep.
The more I shop online, the more I'm concerned about this. I do renew my fraud alert with the credit bureaus every 90 days, but I didn't want to freeze my account in case I needed or someone else needed access to my credit history. Is there something else I should be doing to protect my personal information from identity theft?
Listen, even though you have fraud flag alerts on all of your credit reports that you renew every 90 days, and by the way, everybody, you have to renew them every 90 days because otherwise, in most cases, they just disappear. So they have to be renewed every 90 days. That should be good enough. However, if you are really afraid of this for whatever reason, there's nothing wrong with having a credit freeze, which freezes your accounts. Nobody can get your FICO scores. Nobody can get anything. I have one on all of mine. You know, you freeze your accounts, and if in fact you apply for credit or something, so what? You just notify them. You get the freeze lifted. It might cost $10. You put it back on, things like that. But really, if you already have fraud flags on all of your reports, I think that should be enough.
My mom is 76 years old. She wants to stay in control of her money, but she has begun in the past few months to make some very bad decisions.
What you should do at this point in time is also...
Is it worth it to dump this property and basically lose all of our equity just in order to take advantage of this market?
I'd be very, very careful here. And later, in wanting something, ask me, can I afford it?
A Porsche Cayenne hybrid. I'm not a Gucci Fendi Prada princess by no means, but it's my dream car.
Your husband wanted you to call in because he say no to you, and he wants me to do the heavy lifting here. Welcome back to the Suze Orman Show. Let's go to Kate in California. Go for it.
Good evening, Susie.
Thank you. How are you tonight?
I'm okay.
I love that. All right, ask me your question.
All right. My mom is 76 years old, and she is in an assisted living facility after having a stroke about a year and a half ago.
I'm sorry, yeah.
She wants to stay in control of her money, but she has begun in the past few months to make some very bad decisions, and I think she needs to be protected.
Yeah.
She is bouncing checks. She is late on all her credit cards, and it doesn't matter if I tell her what happens as far as late fees and interest rate hikes. It just doesn't make an impression on her. She's gives out her credit card number to phone solicitors, and at her facility they told me she's been getting all these magazines that she couldn't possibly want after having done that. And I think she's also being taken advantage of by my brother and sister who have their own issues, but it's a mess. I'm really afraid she's going to outlive her money.
All right, now here's my question for you. Okay. For years on this show, I've been saying that you all need a revocable living trust. And so many times, even other so-called financial advisors on other shows or whatever say, oh, all you need is a will. Even some of the magazines were like, oh, you don't need a trust, all you need is a will. It is in cases just like this that if you had had a revocable living trust set up that had an incapacity clause in it, that all it said is that you need one doctor to determine if mommy really was no longer able to manage her own affairs, then this could be taken care of in literally 2 seconds. But do you have a living revocable trust?
She does, and it has an incapacity clause that requires two doctors to sign off on it.
All right, so the reason, by the way, just so you know, that I do one doctor is good luck getting 2 doctors to agree. However, we're doing good here right now, because what you should do at this point in time is get 2 doctors at the assisted living facility to both sign off on this to say mommy is making mistakes with her money. She no longer can do this. She had a stroke, whatever it is, and let the next successor trustee step in place over your mother. Now, who is the next successor trustee on the living revocable trust?
It's me.
Well, girlfriend, you then need to go and do this right here, right now. Go, go, go. Ginger, coming to us from New York. What can I do for you tonight?
Hi, Susie.
Hi, doll. Ask me your question.
I'm calling to ask. I have a mortgage which currently has $225,000 in principal left, and student loans that are at $96,000. The mortgage is at 4.5%, and the student loans are at 3.12%.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, since once you take into account the mortgage interest deduction, the interest rate's about the same. I'm wondering which one I should focus on paying off first.
Oh, you should absolutely focus on paying the student loan off first. Not because of the low interest rate, but because student loan debt in most cases is never dischargeable in bankruptcy. So if something happened to you and you couldn't make the payments on your home, all right, they foreclose, they do whatever, but eventually that debt would go away one way or the other. With a student loan debt, if you cannot make that payment, it then goes from $96,000 to $150,000 to $200,000. They just let it grow and grow and grow, and eventually they come back after you where they garnish your wages, they attach what you have, whatever they can do to get that money. So if it were me and it was such a close price difference between the two, student loan debt without a shadow of a doubt. Karen in Michigan, you are on the air.
Hi, Susie. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Anytime.
My question is that our company has asked us to stop using our corporate credit cards and use personal credit cards for business travel with the guarantee that we'll be reimbursed between 1 and 3 business days. I don't want to shoulder the cost of my business travel since they're relying on me to have a high enough credit limit to cover the costs. And they've suggested that we just open another card that's solely for business for this purpose. I don't want to see my business expenses determine my FICO score. So is this something I should be concerned about, and what could I do about it?
Well, it is something you should be concerned about, because what if you put money on there and they don't pay you, even if it's in 1 or 3 days? And again, if you put money on there and then all of a sudden they say to you, oh my God, we won't. Has anybody else done this yet? Have they been paying it within 1 to 3 days?
It's brand new, and I've seen a couple people get that reimbursement processed in that turnaround time.
In 1 to 3 days. How much do you usually spend when, in fact, you do travel?
A couple hundred.
Oh, so it's not more than that. So we're not talking about putting $4,000 or $5,000 on $10,000. It's just like $200 or $300 at a time.
Yeah, probably at most 500.
At most 500. You know what? If that's do you like your job?
Yes.
Yeah, and you like the company that you work for?
Yes.
I would go ahead and do it if I were you. The first time, however, they miss a 1 to 3 day time limit of paying you back, it's over from that point on. Jody in Iowa, girlfriend, go for it.
Hi, Susie. Thanks for having me. My question is that my husband and I have been trying to sell our townhome for the last year with no offers. It's now listed about $10,000 less than what we paid for it in 2006. We want to upgrade to a house and take advantage of this market and the low interest rates because our family is growing and we need more space. We can still go a little bit lower on our selling price before we lose all the equity that we had. So my question is it worth it to dump this property and basically lose all of our equity just in order to take advantage of this market?
Jody, can you rent out this house?
Potentially, but we wouldn't be able to buy anything while still owning this house.
And why is that?
Well, because I don't think we would qualify to hold 2 mortgages.
But here's the problem. If in fact, all right, you might be able to qualify for 2 mortgages if you can show rental income that covers the mortgage of the first house.
Okay.
All right. So, and because my concern is if you sell it and you take a $10,000 or $20,000 loss right now from what you bought it for, you haven't even figured into that calculation the 6% sales commission that you're going to have to pay, correct?
Yeah, and actually in Iowa it's 7%.
All right, 7%. So if the house is $200,000 and you sell it for $200,000, it's $14,000. So, you're only going to net $186,000. I'm just giving you an example. So are you really willing, to also have to come up with money? Because if there isn't enough equity, obviously, in the house, you're going to have to come up with money out of your pocket to pay the real estate agent, right?
Well, we did factor that in, and we did factor in the commission. If we sell, we could still go another $8,000 before we walk away with nothing, and we have to write a check.
Yeah, but here's the problem, right? Even if you lower it by another $8,000, that doesn't mean people are going to want to buy it. And it might stay there for quite a while. So here's the bottom line advice. You can lower it as much as you want, but you are not to buy one thing, not one thing, do you hear me, until that house not only has sold, but it has closed. Because if you find yourself getting into contract with somebody else because somebody put a offer in on your house, you accepted it, and then they're turned down for a mortgage, you're going to be stuck right back in the situation where you are. So you are not to purchase something new until this one has sold, unless you've decided to now rent this out, right? And see if you can qualify for the new thing. But I'd be very, very careful here because this is how people get in trouble. Up next, you can't afford to miss. Can I afford it?
I want to buy a Lake Tahoe season pass.
How does a 25-year-old making what you make save $31,000 liquid and $35,000 in investments? Also,
I want to buy a Charles Owen JR8 riding helmet.
Where is the liquid savings?
In the bank.
In the bank. What does liquid savings mean?
That you can take it out whenever you want.
That is my girl. What do you want to buy?
Porsche Cayenne Hybrid.
Jaguar men's watch.
Lake Tahoe season pass.
All right. Can I afford it time? This is where you call in, you tell me what it is you want to buy, and I tell you if you can afford it or not. Play along with me. See if you can guess what I'm going to say. Tonight might just surprise you. All right. Stephanie, my dear, what do you want to buy?
Hi. Well, hello from nice and sunny, freezing Florida. A Porsche Cayenne Hybrid.
You want to buy an $80,000 car.
Yes.
All right, listen.
Yes, please.
If you can afford it, I don't have a problem with that. But I have strict rules when it comes to buying an $80,000 car. But let's just see if your money applies to those rules. Show me the money, my dear Steph.
We have $12,000 take home.
Great.
$5,005 in expenses.
All right, so we have $7,000 a month extra.
$249 in a 5/1 ARM at 3.75. $130 in student loans at 3.63.
Yeah.
Savings $9K liquid, $78 in retirement.
Yeah.
And let me just plead with you.
All right.
We just had a baby. We need an SUV. Our cars aren't cutting it. My husband thinks I should drive a minivan. I think he's sadly mistaken. I'm not a Gucci Fendi Prada princess by no means, but it's my dream car.
All right, yeah, so you have a dream of $80,000. I know. Your husband wanted you to call in because he say no to you, and he wants me to do the heavy lifting here.
Exactly.
Now, my producers say that before I make a judgment here, to please take a look at this picture that you sent in that you want me to see.
You need
Oh,
it, too.
it says, wouldn't I look handsome in a Porsche, Susie?
It too.
Oh, he's so cute.
Isn't he?
So cute.
Wouldn't he look adorable?
He
and
would.
hybrid?
Yes. And so here's what I say to you about this. You could not be more denied if you tried. This one, I have to tell you, Steph, this one's kind of funny because this isn't even close. I don't even have to ask you how you're going to pay for it because you don't have any money to pay for it. So you're obviously going to finance it. They're probably rooking you in with some 1 or 2% financing deal. Your payments, even over a 7-year period of time, would be $1,000 a month. But here's the problem. You say your income's $12,000. You say that your expenses are $5,000. Where does the $7,000 go? I don't see it anywhere. You have an ARM. You have an adjustable rate mortgage. Are you kidding me? Megan, what do you want to buy?
I want to buy a Tag Heuer men's watch.
I'm taking a look at it right now for $1,152. Good looking watch. How come you want to buy a watch?
Well, I recently just got engaged, Susie, and my fiance is from Spain. And little did I know, but when you get a ring, you're supposed to give a gift to the man as well.
I got it. You know what the Suze Orman custom would be? As soon as you get engaged, you also have to each have a prenuptial agreement.
Ooh.
But that, I know, but that's not quite as sexy. All right, girlfriend, I hope you're able to get it for him. Show me the money.
I take $20,000 home.
Wait. What do you do for $20,000 a month take home?
A lot of hard work. I'm in healthcare.
You're in healthcare, so you're not a doctor, you're not...
I am a doctor.
Oh, you're a doctor. All right, so that makes sense. All right, $20,000 a month, go on.
I have $6,882 in expenses.
Good.
I have $333,000 fixed, 30-year fixed at 5.25.
Great.
I have a $130,000 student loan at 2.6%. I have a $28,000 car loan at 3.9%.
Yeah.
I have $340,000 in liquid savings, $8,000 in investments, and $37,000 in retirement. I know my retirement.
How come you have so much liquid?
Because, in all honesty, Susie, I'm not sure how to
invest it.
Right. And so it's really hard. My job doesn't give 401ks.
I got it. One day, maybe I'll have to call you afterwards, Megan, and tell you what to do with that money.
I would love to.
And you might also want to look at refinancing your home into into that. But that's not what this segment is about. Approved. You have more than enough money, but you got to work on, being better with the money you have. All right, Jeremy, what do you want to buy?
Hi, Susie. Thanks for taking my call.
Anytime.
I want to buy a Lake Tahoe season pass.
For skiing?
Yes.
Yes. Are you a good skier?
Actually, I love to snowboard. And last season, I went to Tahoe multiple times, and I bought lift tickets. Usually cost around like $60 to $70. So I was planning to go multiple times again this year.
All right. My little nephew is seriously into snowboarding. Travis is his name, and he looks so cute on those slopes. So you've already kind of won my heart, my little Jeremy. Anyway, show me the money, sweetheart.
Okay, I make $3,100 a month.
Yeah.
My expenses are about $7,100. Sorry, $1,700.
I was going to say, really? Really? All right, go on. Yeah.
I have a debt of $8,000 on a student loan at 5.5%.
Not bad.
I have no credit card debt. I have 31,000 in liquid, 35,000 in investments, and 11,000 in retirement.
All right, I just have to ask this. How does a 25-year-old making what you make save 31,000 liquid and 35,000 in investments?
Well, the investments were in a trust. I got it inherited.
All right, so you went. So I had a feeling. I had a feeling. I was going, how's he doing that? That's impossible. But besides that, you are approved. You have the money. No matter how you got the money, you have the money for $379. Oh, you go have the time of your life. Vanessa, what do you want to buy?
Hi, Miss Susie. I want to buy a Charles Owen JR8 riding helmet.
Oh, and so a riding helmet, so that's for horses, is that correct?
Yeah.
How old are you, my dear Vanessa?
I'm 12.
12, and again, my producers are saying we have a picture of you on your horse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you own that horse?
Yeah.
That horse is beautiful. What's your horsey's name?
His name's Cody.
How much does it cost to keep Cody every month?
About $400 a month.
And how much hay does he eat?
About 2 or 3 bales of hay a day.
Yeah, and is that included in the $400 a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, and is it worth every cent of it?
Uh-huh.
I think so. Vanessa, show me the money.
Okay, so I bring in $60 a month in allowance.
Wow.
My expenses are $52 a month.
Vanessa, you got to cut down those expenses, girlfriend. You're hardly making any money, saving any money. Go on.
I have no debt.
Thank God, Vanessa.
I have $467 in liquid savings. And
Where is the liquid savings?
In the bank.
In the bank. What does liquid savings mean?
That you can take it out whenever you want.
That is my girl. Vanessa, I just have to tell you, so many times people are watching the Suze Orman show and they see 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds call in, whatever it may be, and they hear you say the word liquid savings and they think that we've prompted you with that and that you don't have a clue what liquid savings means. See, everybody, when you start young, how long have you been watching the Suze Orman show?
About 2 or 3 months now.
All right, so you learned a lot, huh?
Uh-huh.
All right, so should I approve you? Should I deny you? You are approved, my dear Vanessa. You're doing great. You passed the test. Be careful on that horse of yours. And I just love that. Hey, everybody, do you want to be as smart as Vanessa? Do you want to be part of the Can I Afford It segment? All you have to do is go to my website, SuzeOrman.com, and you will find the information that you need to know there to come and play with me right here. Coming up next, Jennifer asked me,
Susie, how am I doing? I'm clueless with my money. I feel like I'm a mess.
I have this feeling in the back of my mind that you're living up to things that you think your parents have.
Hi, Susie. Thank you so much for approving my wife and me to take a Grand European riverboat cruise.
You are approved, my dear Alton.
We're back from the trip now, and we had the time of our lives. We spent a few days on land in Brussels and Bruges, Belgium. Then we got on a riverboat and cruised the Rhine, Main, and Danube rivers before spending time in Transylvania. The trip was perfect for us, and I really enjoyed not moving bags for 26 days once we got on the boat. Susie, we never would have gone if you had told me I couldn't afford it. So thank you one more time from the both of us, Alton and Louise from Texas.
Welcome back, everybody. This is when we're going to find out how well you're really doing in terms of reaching one of your goals. So many times people want me to give them a grade to see how are they doing in their financial life. And tonight, Jennifer wants to know, Susie, how am I doing?
Hi, Susie. I'm single and at 34 feel I have the things that I need, but I'm clueless with my money. I worry about my aging parents, paying a mortgage, and being able to retire comfortably. I don't want to look back with any financial regrets. I need a plan for my own future since I don't see marriage in the immediate horizon. Susie, how am I doing?
Jennifer, you looked kind of cute posing with that bull on Wall Street.
That was fun, Susie. I'm so happy to speak with you.
Oh, thank you. You know, once I was doing something and I climbed up on that bull. We were taping something and I climbed up on the bull as if I was riding the bull. It was something for something. And all of a sudden the police are there and said, Miss Orman, please get off the bull. You are not to get on that bull, Miss Orman. And I went, oh, sorry, sir. Anyway, all right. So you want to know how you're doing. Well, there's only one way we can find out. Let's look at what your money is. All right. Jennifer is 34 and single. Don't know why you're still single, but that's besides the point. You have income of $4,700 a month, expenses of about $3,000 a month. You have $188,000 in retirement, $21,000 in emergency funds. You have investments of about $11,000. Your current home value is $176,000. You only have a mortgage debt, so you have equity in your home, unlike many out there. Your mortgage debt is $137,000. You have no consumer debt. So at the ripe old age of 34, you have $397,000 in assets and about $137,000 in total debt. And you want to know how you're doing. All right, I always like to play. I'm actually far more playful than people would think. What grade would you give yourself?
Well, Susie, I feel like I'm a mess, so I think I'm doing all right, but I just don't know if I'm doing well for the future. So right now, I'll probably give myself a grade of a B.
A B. All right, I give you an A. In fact, I'm even tempted to give you an A+.
No way.
No way. And let me tell you why. You're doing everything right. You're doing everything right. You're only 34 years of age. Don't be so hard on yourself. I have this feeling in the back of my mind that you're living up to things that you think your parents have or that you should have based on what maybe they have. Not sure about that. But do you know what I mean? But really, you're doing great. And let me tell you why. It is my belief that today, every single person should strive to work till at least 67 years of age. I don't think you should even think about retiring before 67, 70, right in there, okay? But that's for everybody. That's just not you.
Okay.
You know, we're living in a new American dream. We're not living in the years anymore where you retire at 65 or 55 or whatever. You can, but you really better have a whole lot of money to do that, because you will spend more years living in retirement if you do that than you ever did working, now that most people are living till 85 or 90 years of age. My own mama is 96 years of age. So your money really needs to last. And if you can just work till 67 or so, you have far more of an opportunity of your money lasting. So with that in mind, if you did work till you were 67, do you know at the age of 67, if you continue to do everything exactly like you're doing, how much do you think at just a 4% annual average rate of return you would have at the age of 67?
Oh, I'm hoping to meet the $1 million mark.
Well, I think so. You'd have $3.6 million. Oh, that's right.
How can I get to 67 now?
All right, so you'll have about $2 million in your retirement accounts. You're currently having savings of about $2,000 a month that you're doing things with. If you continue to just save that, you'll have $1.6 million there. Your house is going to be paid off at that point in time. So you don't have a mortgage, you have $3.6 million. So when you do all of it after tax, along with your Social Security at 67, you're looking at income of about $9,400 to about $11,000 a month.
Oh.
So how does that make you feel?
Well, I kind of want to get to 67 faster.
Yeah, but here's the key. You can't stop what you're doing now. You can't.
Oh, no.
You have to continue to save, continue to invest, continue to go for it. And that is your way to an A for the rest of your life. A UTMA is a little dangerous. Dangerous. Welcome back, everybody. You know, I love when you write into the Suze Orman Show. I love when you call into the Suze Orman Show. I love when you communicate with me in any way you want to communicate with me. In order to communicate with me, it's easy. Just either go to SuzeOrman.com, SuzeOrman.cnbc.com, become a fan of my Facebook page of Suze Orman Show, or join me on Twitter at The Suze Orman Show. You can also send in webcams. And tonight, we actually have a Suze app where somebody asks me a question. Take a look.
Hi, Susie. I set up a UTMA account for my nephew Ben, who's also my godson. My initial investment was $500. After reading more about UTMAs and trusts, I wonder if I made the right decision. Should I stop contributing to the UTMA and contribute to a trust instead? Thanks, Susie.
You know, Andrew, it's a little bit hard for me to answer that question because I don't know what other trust you're actually talking about. A UTMA, a Uniform Trust to Minors account, is a little dangerous, and let me tell you why. When your little nephew turns 18, turns of age, everything in that account he can take. He can take and he can do anything he wants with it. It is legally his. So if his name is Johnny, let's just say if little Johnny Angel grows up to be little Johnny Devil, and he wants to take that money, and you've done fabulously well with it, you've continued to contribute money to it, and he wants to take it and go buy a BMW or whatever it is, you don't have any legal authority over that. It is his money. Also, money in a UTMA or a UGMA, very similar accounts, will absolutely hurt a child if they need financial aid for college because it's considered their assets. So their assets count a whole lot different than if those assets are in the parent's name or in somebody else's name. If you want to give this kid money and you want to invest it for their future in terms of college, you can do things like a 529. There's all kinds of things you can do. But a UTMA account is not the best way for you to go. All right, that's a wrap. Do I wear you out as much as I wear myself out? Just kidding. You know, I'm a little excited because March 8th, my new book, The Money Class, comes out. Take a look at it. Listen, if you're in debt, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have to buy it. Just go to the library and read it. It's just as good in the library. In fact, it's free as if you buy it. There's a lot of information in that book that will help you. But until next week, there's only one thing that I want you to remember when it comes to your money, and it is this: people first, then money, then things. Now you stay safe.